The gray morning sky stretched above the small town as Clara Evans hurried down the cracked sidewalk, her worn shoes splashing through shallow puddles left from the night rain. She held a thin jacket close around her as the wind bit through the fabric, but she kept walking, her eyes fixed on the grocery store sign. In the distance, she had been thinking about this all week. Thanksgiving was only 3 days away, and she had promised her little boy Mason that they would have a real dinner. This year, not just canned soup and toast like last year. She wanted to buy a turkey, even a small one. But when she opened her purse that morning, she found only 7 crumpled dollars and a handful of coins. Her paycheck from the diner had been delayed, again, and her rent was already overdue. She whispered to herself that maybe she could still make it work. Maybe there would be discounts. Maybe she could find something half off. She just needed to try. When she pushed through the sliding doors of the supermarket, she could smell roasted chicken from the deli section, and her stomach tightened. She passed the aisles filled with customers pushing full carts, laughing, talking about recipes and family gatherings. Clara tried not to listen. Her focus was on the freezer section, where rows of frozen turkeys waited wrapped in shiny plastic. She lifted one and felt its weight, heavy, cold, solid, like a symbol of everything she could not have. She checked the price tag, and her heart sank even. The smallest one was nearly $20. She looked around, hoping maybe someone had left behind a marked-down one, but there was none. A man stocking shelves nearby greeted her politely, but she could only smile faintly and place the turkey back. She reached into her purse again as if maybe the money would somehow multiply, but it did not. Her hands trembled slightly. She turned to leave, trying not to let the tears rise. But they did anyway. One slipped down her cheek. She wiped it quickly, before anyone could see, and headed toward the exit, where she passed the store manager, who gave her a sympathetic look but said nothing. Outside, the air felt colder than before. Clara stood on the sidewalk staring at the busy parking lot, cars loading up with groceries and families talking about pies and cranberry sauce. She thought about Mason sitting at home with his coloring books, probably drawing a big turkey with crayons. He did not know that there might be no dinner at all. She bit her lip and whispered that she would figure something out. Maybe she could sell the old toaster. Maybe she could work an extra shift. Maybe someone at the diner would have leftovers to share. As she turned to walk home, she did not notice the black SUV. Pulling into the parking lot, a tall man stepping out, wearing a gray suit and a company badge clipped to his jacket. He was the CEO of a local food chain and had come to meet with the store management about a partnership. But he paused when he saw Clara standing near the curb, her face pale, her eyes red. Her small purse clutched tightly in her hands. Something about the sight made him stop for a moment, though he did not know why. He felt a pull in his chest, like a quiet voice telling him to look closer. Clara finally began to walk away, unaware that this small intersection of 2 lives would soon change everything. Unaware that the same man she had passed in silence would later bring her to tears, not from sadness, but from something far deeper and kinder. The CEO, named Daniel Hart, moved quietly across the parking lot, keeping his eyes on Clara as she shuffled along the cracked sidewalk. He noticed the weight of the grocery bag swinging from her thin arm and the way her shoulders slumped as if carrying invisible burdens. He hesitated for a moment, debating whether to call out to her, but something inside urged him forward. He took a deep breath and said her name softly. Clara froze mid-step and turned her head, her eyes widening. At the sound, she did not recognize the voice, but it carried a warmth that made her pause. Daniel approached slowly, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. He smiled gently and asked if she was okay. Clara hesitated, unsure what to say. She did not usually talk to strangers, especially well-dressed men in black suits who smelled of expensive cologne. She shook her head, murmuring that she was fine, her voice small and almost swallowed by the wind. But Daniel did not leave. He asked if she was sure, noticing the worn shoes, the frayed jacket, and the tired expression etched into her face. Something about her seemed familiar, though he had never met her. He crouched slightly to match her height and spoke in a calm tone that did not demand, but invited Clara to trust him. Finally, Clara sighed and confessed in a voice almost broken that she could not afford a Thanksgiving turkey for her son Mason, that she had tried everything. But even a small bird cost more than she had, she explained. How she worked at the diner every day from dawn until late at night, how the rent was overdue, and how she had promised Mason a real dinner this year. She tried to hide her tears, but they slipped freely down her cheeks. Daniel listened quietly, nodding. Occasionally, but never interrupting, he felt a sharp ache in his chest. He had seen hunger in reports and statistics, but never in the eyes of someone who seemed to carry both hope and despair simultaneously. Without a word, Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. He tapped quickly, and a moment later 2 employees appeared from the SUV, one carrying a large brown paper bag and the other holding a small bouquet of flowers. Daniel instructed them to help Clara not with charity, but with dignity. He explained that the store would donate a turkey and all the ingredients for a full Thanksgiving dinner. He asked them to make it look like a gift from the community, not a handout. Clara stared in disbelief as the men approached, offering the bag and flowers. She shook her head, muttering that she could not accept such kindness. But Daniel smiled and said that sometimes kindness finds us when we least expect it, and that today Mason would not go without. The employees placed the bag gently in her arms and opened it for her to reveal a turkey fresh and frozen, along with potatoes, stuffing cranberries, and a small pumpkin pie. Clara felt her hands shake. She had not expected such generosity. She felt a warmth spread through her chest, a weight lifting that she had not realized she carried for months or even years. She looked up at Daniel, her eyes brimming with tears, and managed a whisper of thank you. Daniel nodded, saying that she should take care of herself and her son. He explained that sometimes people just need a little help to see the light in dark times. Clara felt overwhelmed, her heart pounding her lips, quivering as she held the bag close. For a long moment, they stood together in silence, watching the parking lot bustling with people, unaware of the small miracle that had just unfolded here. A moment that would be remembered not for charity or headlines, but for human connection, for the recognition that one person noticing another could transform a day, a week, or even a life. Clara felt tears roll freely now, her face wet, but her spirit lighter than it had been in months. She clutched the bag and whispered again, "Thank you," a phrase that seemed far too small for what she felt inside. And though she did not yet know it, this encounter would mark a turning point, not just for Thanksgiving, but for how she saw the world, for how she understood kindness, for how she believed that sometimes even strangers could become angels in unexpected ways. Clara walked slowly toward her apartment building, the heavy paper bag swinging gently from her arms and the small bouquet tucked carefully against her chest. She felt a lightness she had not known in weeks. The wind that had felt so cold before now seemed softer, and the sky a little less gray. She thought about Mason and the surprise that awaited him. The little apartment smelled faintly of old paint and worn carpet, but today it smelled like hope, because soon it would smell of roasting turkey and fresh vegetables. She pushed open the door and called out his name. His small feet patted across the room, and his eyes widened as he saw the bag. She smiled a little and set it down carefully, letting him peek inside. Mason squealed with delight, pointing at the turkey, the stuffing, and the pie. He hugged her tightly, whispering that this was the best day ever. Clara felt tears spring to her eyes again, this time from joy, from relief, from the knowledge that she could provide for her son, at least for today. Over the next few hours, Clara prepared the small apartment for their Thanksgiving dinner. She wiped down the counters and organized the ingredients. Mason helped by setting the tiny table with the few plates and utensils they owned. He hummed happily while Clara chopped vegetables and seasoned the turkey. She thought about Daniel and the moment in the parking lot when he had chosen to intervene, when he had chosen to care. She felt a renewed belief in the goodness of people that perhaps had been buried under years of struggle. She wondered if she would ever see him again, or if this act of kindness would remain a memory forever. But it did not matter because the gift had already transformed their lives in the simplest, most human way.